Hi guys, Bill again. Been trying all day to come up with something that just doesn't sound angry and thoroughly pissed off, but I'm not having much success. I think it's mainly because I've broken one of my golden rules. I've let a blatant troll get to me. What no chips. Delighted in insulting my entire family, not just my mother. A couple of crude insults in a comment thread. Now, reacting to the yo mama insult is almost as immature as making it in the first place, so I'll try and avoid that. I think instead I'll actually take the rhetoric seriously. The first up is a challenge about marriage vows. Apparently, women were required to obey in these vows. Now I say apparently, because our last what no chips seems unaware that not everyone in the entire history of humanity made an English language vow in the form that she's insisting was compulsory. My mother was the only woman in my family, the only woman in our entire history who's ever taken her vows in English. And she didn't promise to obey anyone. Not because she was a feminist, but because she chose to anglicise the Gaelic vows that my father's people have been speaking since the Reformation. I'm going to apologise in advance for the accent. I'm more than rusty, and I haven't held the Gaelic conversation since I hit my teens. However, it sounds a little like this. Thamish Agnes. Anis gachial, sahor, chowith na chachse fasa. Amathias, chas, nathasho na fiasen. Thamish achlean, avisnam via flasha. Dalis, chaduich, ugustrias a chluishta. Chovas, avios, and the achs, achen bia. Probably the worst Gaelic you're ever going to hear in your life. It means, broadly, I, Agnes, now take you, Donald, to be my husband. In the presence of God and before these witnesses, I promise to be a loving, faithful and loyal wife to you for as long as we both shall live. There's no obedience there, no servitude, and my father made an identical vow to her. The other claim's a co-joined one. Women were apparently just breeding machines. They had 10 to 15 children and they all died young. They couldn't possibly want those kids themselves, so they must have been raped. Fuck me sideways. I've got a copy of my family tree that reaches back to just after the 45. It predates the birth of the United States. Not one of my ancestors in all of that time bore 10 children. Now this evidently isn't good enough. That record can't record miscarriages. Well, no, it doesn't record miscarriages. It does, tragically, record stillborn children. The Reformation abolished the concept of purgatory. So in the Reformed Hebrides, as in our modern world, parents could attempt some kind of closure for their pain by naming the deceased children. Now those names were appended to the parish records and the little ones were given funerals. Meaning that, as sad as it is for me to read it, I've got a fairly complete record of just about every pregnancy that came to term in my family for the last 3 centuries. Or to put it another way, I'm not theorising about this to justify some kind of bullshit dogma. I'm reading cold hard facts, painfully cold hard facts, and I'm drawing my conclusions accordingly. The women in my family, they didn't have big families. However, nobles, until fairly recently, did have big families. Now you can draw your own conclusions about reproductive choices, and you can draw your own conclusions about who was making those choices. Personally, I believe that the women in my past had at least as much to do with the decision-making process as the men did. And I take great exception to the charge that my women married fucking rapists. There's another factor in this mix that my pet troll just hasn't considered. The record notes the death, or the age of the death, of a large number of island men, and an astonishing number of these guys failed to make it into middle age. Now that's not for health reasons. Last century we began to die of old age, and typically someplace in our late 70s. Not bad innings, I'd say. Prior to that we died a lot earlier. The waters around our island are absolutely treacherous. It's no coincidence that Hebridean music is melancholic. Even in the 20th century, a lot of my cousins drowned. Those men, they died providing for their families, providing for their women. Now, life has always been hard for both sexes, and not just in my culture. In the West, we've reached a stage in our civilization where we can reasonably expect to live long and comfortable lives. This is a great thing. This is very welcome. But we shouldn't expect our ancestors to accept some kind of blame for failing to adhere to some crazy, fucked up modern code of behaviour. The strong, powerful, independent women who survived to give me and my children our chance to live are heroines. They're not pathetic, weak victims of predatory males, and the noble, self-sacrificing men who partnered with them are just every bit as worthy in my eyes. They fought a hellish, long, bitter struggle to bring us to a land of milk and honey. I absolutely refuse to blacken their name or second guess any of their motives. I'd rather just thank them and live the best life that I can to honour their memory. Now people, the best advice I can give you is to just do exactly the same thing. Laters, eh?